Beautiful. And whenever you're ready, Tali, go for it.
Okay. Hi, I'm Tali Green. I'm a litigation lawyer. I used to work in rooms like these, where each of my files would have hundreds or thousands of disorganized documents. Before I could even start advocating for my client, I needed to figure out what happened. What stories do these documents tell me? That meant spending hundreds of hours sifting through documents and populating information about each document into an Excel worksheet or a word chart. I had young kids, and this work would keep me up for hours each night. Most of the work was not billable. Clients didn't want to pay for administrative drudgery, but someone had to do it. I looked around for solutions to this problem and couldn't find any. Fast forward 2 years, we are proud to say that we have built the solution to this massive problem. And now every litigator's dream has come true. We've built the most accurate, interactive, and reliable story management platform for document-heavy litigation. Soon after I had my aha moment and realized there was a huge gap in the market, I also realized that I was not alone. Every one of the hundreds of litigators I spoke with across the world, across all firm sizes and practice types, had this problem. And it was an extremely costly one for lawyers and their law firms. Because to add insult to injury, not only was this chronology work manual, boring, and tedious, it also wasn't billable. While lawyers do love to bill for their time, the hours they spend on this work mostly gets written off. Clients just don't want to pay $300 an hour for a lawyer to do what is essentially administrative work. That means a mid-sized law firm would be writing off more than 15% of a lawyer's total hours in a year. That's time that could have been spent on billable work, enhancing a lawyer's professional skills, and making the lawyer and the firm a lot more money. Goodfact solves this problem. But before we get into how, let me tell you a little bit about email threads. A big chunk of the work that goes into building a chronology is spent dealing with long and confusing email threads. Let's take a look. Sorry. Here's a batch of email threads that might be common on a file. So when you look at each email in isolation, you can see there's many individual emails in this thread. A litigator needs to isolate each individual email to understand the context around it. And here you have two email threads. What if you have 10, 100, or 1,000? Each individual email needs to get added to that chronology manually. Because here we can see two emails sent on the same day across two threads. Those two emails affect one another in the story of the case. They need to both be added. So what litigators do is they manually parse out these email threads. Goodfact takes care of that entire process. It parses email threads and places each individual email into the chronology as a separate fact, color-coded by thread. It then allows the user who just saved hours and hours of their time to start really analyzing the case right away, to add tags and comments to each fact. Goodfact does the same thing for almost all the documents in the case. It takes PDFs like medical records, letters, and financial documents and puts them all in chronological order using AI to correctly identify the name and date of each document. Unlike any other tool on the market, Goodfact allows documents to be displayed all in one place, all in context, so that litigators can keep track of what's going on. Our team is ready to tackle this challenge from all sides. I'm a litigator. I can understand and connect with our prospects and customers. They share with me the details of their cases and their strategy for the litigation. I understand exactly how they're going to be using our product and what else they need. Thomas and Michael are very experienced software engineers. Each of them have over 14 years experience building solutions for complex problems at large institutions and startups. Thomas, my co-founder, with whom I've been working for over 2 years, has a very strong background in email processing, which is a unique skill that allows him to tackle a problem that no other company has done yet, which is to parse email threads into individual emails. Chronology tools abound in the market, but they can generally be separated into two distinct categories: the ones that came before the advent of ChatGPT and the ones that came after. The ones that came before, on the right-hand side, under user-generated facts, those tools can broadly be described as glorified Excel worksheets because they require the user to do the same work, manually enter the date, the name, and the summary of each fact. The pain surrounding email threads is still there. Most of the e-discovery tools on the market, including the well-known Relativity, would fall into this category. After ChatGPT, a whole new crop of companies emerged and did essentially the exact opposite. It over-automated everything. They throw LLMs at the problem. So you would put all your documents into these tools, and they would spit out an abstractive or paraphrase summary of each document in chronological order. The problem with these tools is that, again, they over-automate. Users don't want just an abstractive or paraphrase summary of each document. They want the best of both worlds: the option to see this abstractive LLM-generated summary, but also, much more importantly, to see the underlying fact, the text of every document, the source of every fact, and have the power to decide what's ultimately important. Goodfact gives users the best of both worlds. On this scheme, the black sections indicate the ideal scenario for users based on our hours of user interviews and feedback. The gray is a situation that's not great, but acceptable. And the white is a scenario that's just downright painful. Goodfact offers the most delightful chronology experience because it automates all the right things, but gives litigators that robust, accurate foundation of facts tied to the documents to let them feel like they have complete control over their evidence. Our approach to pricing is simple. We bill for the value that we add, and the more documents you upload, the more value Goodfact adds. Goodfact doesn't charge per user because we want to maximize collaboration on each file, and because we want each user that gets added for free to a matter to feel like, wow, this is an amazing tool. I need it for my own files. We offer 2 tiers, one that's pay as you go and one that locks users into a 12-month contract. Goodfact's immediate target market is medium and large firms across Canada. Our serviceable, obtainable market is 2.3 million annual, based on the assumption that Goodfact will be able to capture 50% of its target market. Once that market is captured, our plan is to expand beyond Canada into North America and other English-speaking jurisdictions, as well as to e-discovery providers and in-house counsel. Eventually, our goal is to market Goodfact to all story professionals, or anyone who needs to understand the story behind their batch of documents, which can include doctors, lenders, insurers, accountants, and many others. Goodfact hit the market in August of 2023, so a little bit over a year ago. We were charging a one-time fee per matter until July 2024. That's when we introduced traditional SaaS monthly pricing. And that was when we really started to see accelerated growth in our revenue as well as in users, because that's also around when we introduced our first new AI features, which made Goodfact much more efficient and user-friendly. Our growth over the last month has been tremendous. We've seen a huge surge in users and in active subscribers. We're asking for 1.5 million. The bulk of these funds will be spent on product development and specifically UI, UX improvements and R&D into artificial intelligence. We will also be spending on increasing adoption within our current customer base, as well as on sales and marketing talent to scale globally and across different industries. Goodfact makes litigation fun again. It frees us lawyers to do the work that we love, which is to develop strategy and build arguments to win our cases. At the same time, it gives us unparalleled clarity into our story with all of the evidence available at our fingertips. Goodfact really is a litigator's dream come true. Thank you for your time.
Fabulous job, Tali. And you're at 10 minutes and about 30 seconds, so great timing too. Fantastic. And Jane's joined us as well, so
Oh,
give a
hi,
little hi,
Jane.
Jane.
Take
Morning,
care.
everybody. Sorry, I had a coffee emergency, so I was a little late joining. Tali, what a difference in your slides from week to week. That's incredible.
It's
I'm
all
sure
Lauren.
Jane's nodding. She sees it too.
Yeah, I've just
all Lauren.
texted her to say that was absolutely brilliant. Love the graphics.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. I'm telling you, it was all Lauren. She's been working with me like you have no
very
idea.
good. That's
That's
awesome.
fabulous. That's fabulous. Okay, are we ready for some feedback? Yeah, everybody. Okay, well, let's start with John.
Why don't I not go first just because I've
Okay.
seen it before, so I don't want to color other folks' opinions.
Great. Absolutely. Let's turn it over to Victoria then.
Yeah, well, I think this is good. Because this, as you said, is for story, and here pitch is also a story. How do you make the story attractive to investors, right? So I think you made a good job. Like I'm not in this field, but sorry for my dog background. But you start with the issue, and so that's we call it care, to make people care, and then you do put things together to make people believe in the solution gonna work, and then finally come up with and then follow up by some progress and the final ask. So from that perspective, care, believe, progress, and ask. That's a sort of the high level structure of a pitch. I think you did a good job on that. At least I follow along. It didn't lose me. But I do think that you can improve on certain things to stand out, particularly on the traction part. So you've done a good job there. Um, you still have some room. I mean, in terms of the space, you may add more there to show the traction. Uh, Even say so you show the revenue, but I believe you may have other sort of KPIs can show up there. People subscribed or
Could.
whatever, like whatever you have to, yeah, then you can certainly strengthen it, because I know that when you got the revenue, you actually have a lot more behind it. The revenue is on top of the iceberg, actually. So that could make the traction part more sort of standing out. The other thing is on sort of on the main body part on the uh, uh, so you talk more on the competitor slides. I think some of the content probably can get it out as a standalone sort of value proposition part. Um, there could be something before that sort of get into a one standalone value proposition to really stand out here. Yeah, that's things on top of my head. I could watch it later and maybe catch up a little bit more specific details and put in that.
No, that's great. Thank you, Victoria. Appreciate that.
Great.
Hi,
Melanie?
Tali. Hi. Yeah, I would echo what Victoria said. I liked how you started. It was interesting because you did go from personal story to solution to market story. So it was kind of a bit of a flip-flop back and forth, and I'd love to hear how that story at the beginning could be told without the like problem solution back and forth. But that's kind of a massage it out and hear if that works, and maybe what you're doing right now is the best solution. So that was just like something I noticed on flow. For me, what Victoria's saying about the competition slide, I had written down as well that need to tighten value prop. So you say a lot of words on that competition slide, and it's also a very, very wordy slide in itself. And I feel like your value prop gets completely lost. So I feel like you start off quite strong where I was like, oh, this is interesting. I'm curious to hear what the solution is. You're bringing me along. And then actually that competition slide where you're trying to say we stand out, I started to be like, oh, they are like they are like Claude. Like I use Claude every day at work to do like story manage, like to kind of build stories from documentation and from reports and stuff. So then I was like, oh, are they like that? And I don't think I heard anything that was really like, why would lawyers not use Claude or other things? That's just the one I use. But why would they not? And how would Claude, like, how are you going to outpace the Claudes of the world? So then I started to get really like, okay, I'm waiting for that like client testimonial, that story, like tell me a customer story where they're like, we would never use Claude because, or we would never use this because like this is like specific to our industry. She knows what we're about. She knows like this. You kind of said that all along, but you never, or I didn't hear a direct correlation between like, or direct, yeah, correlation between like, I know the industry. This is really like we are targeting the things that need to be targeted and your customer saying that. So that was my concern. Like, are all the lawyers using AI already? Like, what is that percentage? Like, why would they change to you? Or do they not trust those and therefore they are looking for a you, you know? So that, which like is unfortunate that I got lost in that on that slide where you're trying to drive home how you are different. And then I was like, oh no, what if they're not? So I feel like that's something that I would need to talk to you, or I would need to listen in more to understand to Victoria's point, like more of those KPIs and more of that traction. Let's tell your traction story. Let's tell your momentum story. Let's tell maybe a customer story that really underlines why they're going to choose you over one of these other platforms, because there might be a really, really logical reason as to why, and I don't know the space well enough to know that. So that was the piece for me. And I think like if you want to like, I know you have extra time, but if you don't, like if you're trying to cut anything, just as a side point, I found the video, the first half where you're saying, look at all these emails, these can all be yada, yada, yada. That section, I was like, you're telling me something I already know. Like I can conceptualize very quickly this problem by the way you told the story. And then you do show, but then I liked the second half of the video where it was like, what was the language it said? It's starting at email threads are it says like email thread something in like a little talking bubble. So before that, that information of like how you categorize all the emails and all those things, that's all details that felt like a sales pitch to me. So I wrote that down as well. I'm like, this is a great sales pitch up until like about halfway through, until you switch over to team. Then I was like, okay, now we're going into the investor pitch. So so I think there's work to be done. I'm hearing there's already been a lot of work done on this, and it sounds like you've brought it a really long way. And so I kudos to you on that. And like that, I can see that you have all the pieces. And I think it's just, let's bring out the traction. Let's shift it from sales to pitch to investor pitch a little bit more at the top. And then, yeah, I think it can be really, really strong. You're obviously a good storyteller and understand story. So I think it can be good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good job.
Yeah, thanks, Melanie.
Yeah, I think great work, Tali. I think a lot of movement. So I think the video piece that Melanie just referred to, actually, so my overarching is I think you should try to grab Melanie, because if she uses a sort of, not in a legal sense, but competing product, she may be able to help to how do I like that video. The objective is good and it's much better than V1, but I think we still need to grab for an investor who's not a lawyer, make this, make me understand how challenging an issue this is and sort of set up how you solve it. So I think way better than last version, still work to do. I think my overarching comment is you didn't the only number my old man memory remembers seeing is 52,500. So you didn't get me at all with how compelling a market opportunity this is. And I'm a simple guy, so mine would be, before I give a crap what you do or anything else, we're like, hey, this is this is a compelling market opportunity. Now tell me how well positioned you are to capitalize on it. I think you got a good story on both sides, but I think I wouldn't, if you want to start at it, it's a $97 million blah, blah, blah. I know per customer is 52,500, great, but I think I need something larger in terms of the opportunity. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, 50% retention. Yeah, so echoing, I think what Victoria was saying to me on your KPIs, to me it would just be I'd offer less, and really like, you're early on, it's a big opportunity. Give what I'm interested in of your target clients. Know what's retention. So how many of the ones who are using it love it, and their usage is increasing. How many new clients am I getting of my sort of target? Like some of those things, just the simpler story that I really like. Any investor is buying into growth, and I'm hopefully getting in here, and it's about to jump. So, what are the simpler ones around that? And again, this may be just me, but there were a couple of points that really were completely irrelevant to me, the investor, like this makes law fun again for a litigator. I think like flipping into this sales end more than selling me the investor. Like I'm really excited that, blah, 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 fun again for Lydia, which is why they'll part with 50% of the value that I create on their behalf, which totals this much money. And then the last piece is just natural questions that come to me based on having seen that. What are the things I would want to dig into? So I already had the compelling opportunity, but it's really around AI. So I think at one point, up front, it makes it sound like you're an AI tool, and I think I liked your original positioning in the last one, but just upping the AI a bit. So I think later you talk about hybrid. So in my mind, you are leveraging AI, selectively leveraging AI, whatever. And then the natural question becomes, I know nothing about AI, save for I know it gets better over time as it gets used more and more. So how am I? I'm better than them today. My natural investor question would be, yeah, but when they've gone through 97,000 cases, will you still be better than them? And I would play up the hallucination factor, right? Hallucination when I'm asking for a question on ChatGPT probably has a little impact. Hallucination in a law case could mean a $600 million judgment against my client, that sort of blah, blah, blah. But I think really that hallucination piece is a big big element of why AI will never work, even as it improves. You can't eradicate that need. So we leverage AI to facilitate, specialist litigator judgment. Wah, wah, wah. I thought it was great.
Thank you, John. This is so helpful. Thank you.
Sorry, just taking my own notes. That was fabulous feedback. Tali, is there any other questions you have before we move on to Jane's pitch? I know it's a lot to digest all at once. We always have the recording. So is there anything else you want to address before we move over to Jane's?
I guess maybe, yeah, just one quick question for the investors. Like, do you guys find, based on your experience having seen a million pitches, do you feel like this, and John, this is something you mentioned last time, like, do you feel like this product is sort of very complicated to understand, and is the pitch therefore very complicated to understand? Or is this just like average stuff you see and I'm dealing with it sort of in an average way and it's fine?
No, I think it's understandable. You just need to sort of upgrade some of the storytelling, particularly on the traction or the progress, the potential piece.
Okay.
On potential that I haven't seen it, like the not just traction, but continue on this trend, you can get to what?
Okay.
Yeah. No, I think I've seen like very complex biotech companies be able to explain things in a very clear and understandable way. So like no matter how complex the solution, we can find a way to communicate it to the audience you'll be pitching to. So I think we can get there. And I think it's understandable, which is why I was like, you don't need that little bit at the beginning of that video, because I was just like, I get it. But I didn't get what John's saying, him having that like benefit of seeing it before. I did think it was an AI tool predominantly, not leveraging AI. So I think I want to understand like how exactly this, like talk me through how this works and how a litigator would use this tool. So that's how I would understand it better. So often like case studies or customer stories or how, meet our customer blah, this is how they're actually using it. That's where that story comes in really handy.
Okay, thank you.
I think, again, Melanie probably could really help you. I actually think you're in a very challenging space, which is, so if it's a biotech company, I have no intention of understanding. So I get the highest level and I'm really how many patents we have and where are we in regulatory processes. Yours actually is the more challenging of, I think I can understand it. So I have not yet, unlike Melanie, have not used a tool like this. But I'm thinking, well, Jesus, I can go into Outlook and order by date, right? You have this. So to me, I think you're in that spot of I need, like, what yours is, like the ordering by date, to me, that's like, well, Jesus, anyone can do that. So to me, it's really the ordering by date and sender. But there are so many, as you said, threads that are here, and I have a different email from the same person on the same date to the same group of people, but this second one included another person which had this bit, which is what the entire litigation rests on. So I think, so sorry, a roundabout answer. I think yours is not complex at all, but it's almost that becomes the challenge of it. There is complexity that's not obvious when you're explaining it to me. So I think that beginning bit really needs to get how, I can order it by date in Outlook now, next investor presentation. So it's way more than that. And how do I pull that out in a simple way? And it sounds like my perspective, maybe Melanie can help you with that.
I'd love to.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you all very much. I'm going to stop